All right, folks. Well, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune because it's time for another week of the Rec Poker Podcast. This is our weekly chats interview edition, but we also have a weekly forums edition that's all about strategy. I'm Jim Reed, your host for both. I go by Bluffsterini in the home game and at Rec Poker Jim on socials, and I have the best freaking job in the world talking poker with my friends every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern live on YouTube. And you can join us for free and win a prize just for showing up. Now, I want to, of course, make it clear to the world that we are proud to be brought to you by the official sponsor of the Rec Poker Podcast. That's Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. You can find out more about them at runaces.com. And we're getting tickled pink, all of us here on the panel, because right around the corner is Rec Poker Weekend at Running Aces. It's going to be here before we know it. That's the first weekend in August. But, you know, like I say at the top of every show, we are mostly a volunteer-based organization here at Rec Poker, so we really depend on support from our premium members and from our sponsors. God bless those premium members. They throw in their $22 a month to help to take advantage of our training material and study opportunities. But you can only sign up for a free account at rec.poker today. All it takes is an email address and a smile. And you know we love supporting local food banks around here. So if you want to check out the perks of our premium membership, just make a donation of any amount to your local food bank, send us the receipt, and we'll happily send you your first month of premium membership as a way just for saying thanks for helping out your fellow humans. Now, you get to know my voice because they let me host the show here on Mondays, but I'm only one man. It takes a crew to make all the magic happen around here. We call our leadership panel the Wrecking Crew. And if you want to learn more about me or the rest of the Wrecking Crew, you can go to rec.poker/crew or just listen up. You're going to meet a few of them tonight. Just like every week, we have a panel of Rec Poker Wrecking Crew members. Tonight, I'm joined by John Somsky, Lorianne Persinger, Chris Jones, Joe Coolis, and of course, our invisible producer, Rob Gardner, but you can actually see him in 2 dimensions. He's right there on your screen tonight. And tonight we don't have a guest per se. The panel kind of is the guest. We're going to be talking to all of these wonderful people about how they study poker, sort of what poker means to them, what the next chapter for them in poker is like, maybe some tips for other players in their position. We're going to explore some of the ways that we all engage with poker and in the poker community. But most importantly, you in the YouTube chat, get some questions in. I see we've got several folks already watching. And of course, stick around. You're going to be entered into our food bank raffle at the end of the show to win some fantastic prizes. But I'd really love to know, you've got these 6 talented, thoughtful, serious recreational players up here on the panel tonight. And if you have any questions for us and kind of, well, to do with anything to do with poker or our lives, this would be a great opportunity to take us up on it. So I know we're going to hear from the whole panel in just a second. I guess I'll kind of jump in first. I'm really excited. I'm about to go down to the World Series of Poker. I had a pretty deep run in the main event last year. I took 210th place for 60 grand, which was a complete dream come true. More luck than skill, of course, but what a remarkable journey that was on. And so I've played in it twice. I've made day 2 both times, but never with a more than a starting stack. But I have had my deep run, and I feel like I've kind of got that monkey off my back. And so now I'm going down. I've sold a bunch of action. I'm definitely going to play the main. I'm going to play a couple other tournaments while I'm down there. And I really want to just feel that comfort and familiarity of already having gone deep in it, to just take every spot that comes up, to not be afraid of the scope of it, and to really make the most of the opportunity and just try and win the whole goddamn thing. Why not? I'm a recreational player like a lot of the folks here and a lot of the folks at Rec Poker. I work 2 day jobs. My wife works 2 jobs. We're really busy. I don't get a chance to play live poker very often. And it's sort of one of those things where it's like a lot of us recreational players, if you don't play very often, there is an element of just kind of hoping that you're going to run good and not run poorly in some of these times when you happen to get out there and play live, because it's going to be a pretty small sample set. And so I'm just very signed up for that. I know my poker future is in the hands of the poker gods. I'm planning to try and find some new Canadian venues to put some more time. I'm looking forward to this trip to Vegas, but I don't know if I'm going to be going back down south anytime in the next little while, especially for Canadians. There's just a lot of things that are up in the air right now when it comes to travel to the States. But my favorite poker room in the world is right around the corner in Montreal here at Playground. They do a number of fantastic tournament events throughout the year. And of course, Calgary is a very great scene for Canadian poker as well. And they actually do have a card room in not in my neighborhood, but near Toronto now. And even though it's a rake trap, it doesn't seem that they really respect their players. I am going to be getting some action in there, and just loving this poker community. And I mean rec poker, but I also mean the poker world as a whole. That is really kind of, I've seen them take me in and take in a lot of our Wrecking Crew members and our premium members and guests on the show. It's such a welcoming place, really is. And whether I'm working as a coach or as a writer, or just helping keeping the calendar pages turning here at Rec Poker or that kind of thing. Just very much in love with poker. Wish I could play more. Wish I had more time for active study. But I just feel like I'm just kind of settling into my role as a recreational poker player. And I'm lucky. I've been winning player for a long time, mostly because of my game selection, and I'm a huge bankroll nit. But I like being there. Yeah, Rob.
So Jim, you're kind of taking a different path this next year with hitting a lot of the like Canadian stops and focusing on that realm. Are you gonna carve a path here and like maybe this is like a Jim Reed takes over Canadian poker type thing? It feels like there's a canvas there for somebody to have like a breakout year and kind of become who is the Canadian star right now. Like I don't know of any Canadian stars, so like seems like there's a void for you to fill.
I am so flattered, Rob, at the prospect. I think, like I say, I'm not going to be able to put in the volume to really take the Canadian world by storm. But yeah, I know the Canadian poker community is very fun and active and travels well. And I've met a lot of them at various stops in the States and in Ireland and that kind of thing. And I've made a lot of friends already. So I'm really looking forward to just getting more reps in with my Maple brethren from coast to coast up here. And and I would, listen, nothing would make me happier. Let's see if we can continue some momentum when it comes to some pretty good tournament results. So I love that idea. Oh, sorry, Lorianne, I think you had something.
No, nothing to add to that. I just want to comment on the YouTube chat that's already on fire. So if I seem like I'm sitting here talking to myself or laughing to myself, I'm not nuts. I'm just reading the YouTube chat. I just want to put that out there right now.
Yeah.
Vinny and Philip, you guys are killing me right now.
Yeah. So we do have we have a very active YouTube. Oh, I see my mom's in there tonight. Hello, Martha. Hi, Mom. Lots of love.
So I'm not nuts and just laughing to myself when you seem like you're saying something serious, and then I'm like grinning or laughing. It's like, no, I'm reading the YouTube chat. So kind of,
there you go. It's an active.
Nobody's paying any attention to you, Lorianne. Don't worry.
Okay, he's saying something serious, and she's sitting there laughing. What is one of those? It's like, okay, good to know. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, sure.
And I see we've already got a comment in from Eric Ebson. Yeah, and folks, if you've got questions or ideas, please get them in there. And like I say, I'm going to be pretty open. If people want to know anything about me or my life or my role in poker or anything like that, I'm going to be kind of no holds barred with this tonight. So get your questions in for me and for the rest of the panel. I can't speak for what they'll answer, but now's a good time to try. You never know. Here's one from Eric Ebson. We need to host a rec poker weekend in Canada. I think that is almost certainly happening at Playground at some point later this year. We've been talking a few times about finding the right weekend to get out there. They're doing a couple. I think they're doing a circuit stop in the fall, and I think they're also doing a WPT stop out there in the fall. And I would imagine those would both be excellent opportunities to do a rec poker weekend. And if folks have not had a chance to get up there, we're not affiliated with the Playground Poker Club, but it is a fantastic card room. and they treat their players really well, and they have premier stops from major tours as well. So I would encourage anyone. And Montreal is such a freaking fun city. Boy, you can spend a whole month in Montreal one weekend and have a great time doing it. So I'd encourage everyone to go and give that a try sometime soon. So that's, I think we'll kind of get each of the panelists on the spot a little bit here and kind of share some about sort of like where they're at with poker and some of the things that they're thinking about and the role that poker is playing in their lives. Let's start with our home game director, John Somsky, who I always love to mention, originally signed up to run one monthly home game for Rec Poker. One monthly home game. John, how many monthly home games are there now in a typical month? Is the month out like 31 days?
Well, there are typically 10 a week plus. So you're looking at least 40 in a month. Right. Probably like 45, something along those lines.
And that's the nightly tournaments, the monthly tournaments, the monthly tournament of champions, and then every once in a while we also have a quarterly heads up tournament series, as well as the end of year ones. I mean, it's I don't know how you do it, pal, but again, many thanks to the one and only John Somsky. So John, where are you at with poker? Tell us.
Well, over the last couple of years, I've kind of stepped back from poker. I'm not playing nearly as much as I was. It started when we started building this house. Prior to that, I would go out and I'd play probably on average 2 to 3 times a week. And now I've only played in Rec Poker branded things for probably the last 2 years. Only time I've stepped in the casino has been for Rec Poker. I take that back. This last year, I did go out to Vegas once, and I did play twice out there. So I forgot about that one. But for the most part, just playing in Rec Poker things, and online, I'm just playing in the home games. So my passion for the game is still there. My ability to actually put in study time is abysmal. I do about the only thing I do is passive study that involves listening to podcasts, which as a podcast maker and listener, I have to say that is an excellent way to enjoy yourself.
True.
But it is, unless you are actively using that information and doing something with it, it's a slow way to get better. Although I do think being part of the podcast has helped me. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm trying, my passion for the game is still there. My time, not so much. So I'm just, I'm thinking over the next 6 to 12 months that should be able to change and I should be back into playing occasionally.
And you're one of the OGs of Rec Poker. And I know that you've helped build it. You've been on the core team, the entire time. What have been the ways that you have actively studied and improved as a player? Because I'm curious about this with you, because so much of your work is tied up in the administration of the home game club. How have you gotten better at poker?
So back in the day, I was a member of Card Runners. That was one of the very first online training video sites. I had watched all of Taylor KB, also known as Green Plastic, back in the day, videos. And that was kind of interesting. Back then, I don't think the videos were as good as they are now. But it was the first time you got to see someone actually playing and talking through their thought process. And boy, if I was as good as I am now, which is not very good in the grand scheme of things, back then I would have made a killing. The games were just so soft and no one really knew what they were doing. A number of players just won off of blind aggression. And I tried to do that. I just forgot that occasionally they have it, and you can't just do unbridled aggression. So I've done that. I've read a lot of books. I used to watch just about everything that they had on TV. Now, this was years and years ago when they actually had more, but it was more focused. This was pre-YouTube, so you didn't watch anything on YouTube. There wasn't those types of things. I know I'm showing my age here. But that's basically how I learned. I just devoured all of the information that I could. I still don't think I necessarily practiced as much. Things like, your opening hand ranges. I knew what they should be, but I didn't do the, studying so that I would have it memorized and know, okay, now that I am under the gun, it's this versus, under the gun and the button I probably had pretty well. But the ones in between were a little bit more hit or miss.
We've got a question from Benny the Jet. John, you seem like a smart cookie. What do you do for a career?
I am a computer programmer. I write software to help with regulatory compliance for the medical device industry. So I would talk about that, but we prefer that our audience stays awake.
Touche, sir. But I know that you're quite adept at programming, and I know that that's something that you've leaned on as a resource for a lot of the work you do here at Rec Poker. Is that like a 9 to 5? Do you go just like punch in an office somewhere?
Well, no, I helped found the company back in 2002.
Here it comes.
And I've been programming ever since, 1976 when I was 7 years old. That was my first program where I made my name scroll across the screen. But my brain thinks like a computer. So it comes natural to me, and I can see patterns, and I love it. I love I love programming, and I'm trying to take that same. I wish I had the same innate skills at poker that I do at programming. When I see something programming, I learn it fast. Poker, I have to work a little harder at.
I'm sure there's a big overlap of skills there, though. So
yeah.
And what is your like ideal what am I trying to ask? Like what do you want poker to be for you?
So at one point in time, this would have been, back in like 2005, 2006, I envisioned, becoming excellent at the game, maybe becoming a member of the Poker Hall of Fame, or all sorts of ridiculous types of things that I have long since given up. Now I want to become competent. I would like to feel comfortable playing in larger games and larger venues. I can't, like when I go to a casino, I can't play slots because I can't put $1 in knowing that I am expected to get 97 cents back over time. And the variance just doesn't do anything for me. Whereas at poker, I can at least delude myself into thinking that I have a skill edge over the rest of the table. Now, sometimes that's delusion, sometimes it's reality, but in theory, one can have an edge. So I'm willing to, I do enjoy gambling, but I like to do it with an edge like that, or just do, random things, take a person and bet on the flip of a coin for a trivial amount of money just for the fun of it. That's fine too.
Yep. No, I like that. I think that's really a smart way of getting at it. Well, if you've got some questions for John or for any of the other panelists, get them in the YouTube chat there. We're going to kind of rotate through with some of our other members, and we'll get back to John in a second here as well. Lorianne Persinger, why don't we talk to you next? Where are you at with poker these days?
Ooh, you use my full name. Uh-oh, we're serious. I am at kind of a crossroads right now. On one hand, I'm thinking about stepping away from poker for an extended period. On the other hand, I'm kind of in the middle of a process with getting a potential small backing deal for smaller buy-in tournaments. So it's kind of like I said, a crossroads where, as I mentioned during pre-production, I kind of feel like, as I've said before, that I love poker, but poker just doesn't seem to be loving me back the way I love it. It's almost like an abusive relationship. And like for the last, because I keep track of all my tournaments, basically all my buy-ins, how I bust out, and I have my hand history homies. Shout out to them when they watch this later. But we go
Nice.
over everything, and it's gotten to the point where I have gray hair, but I feel like I'm going to have more gray hair and pull it out because I don't know what else I can do at this point. As I also mentioned, I keep running deep in tournaments, and I don't know if that's worse or better than busting early because basically I'm ending up with the same amount, which is 0. And for example, in the last 2 weeks ago, I played in the South Point 300, 200K. I stone bubbled day 2. And I was going to step away, but decided to play last Sunday at Resorts World. And I returned there, and I can let you know I hadn't been there in a while because even Darren says, "Where have you been?" Get the dealers to ask me. So it's kind of nice to be missed. But I told him I just lately, and everyone goes through a downswing. I just was not having fun, and I just didn't know what else I could do. And as I've also mentioned, losing flips is one thing, but as I told you gentlemen, I'm losing 80-20s. I'm losing 70-30s for my all in. And I don't know what training or what else that I can do to teach me how not to lose in those positions. And even at Resorts World, came back from the first break, and in one orbit, I had aces, kings twice, and pocket eights in one orbit, and I was out before the second break. So you go home, you're just like, you're kind of a little shell shocked. And then, but this past week, so I was going to step away, but unfortunately, we had a last minute change of plans this week for our anniversary. And I see Neil saying, play cash, Lorianne. It's so much better for your mental health. I keep hearing that. I'm not sure yet, but
It's true.
That's
It
what I
is
keep
true.
hearing. I just haven't played cash in so long. But we had a last minute change of plans this week. So my husband talked me into playing South Point. My husband, with a little help from Rec Poker member Craig Savage, who's in town, they both talked me into playing the second South Point 300, 200K buy-in. And I actually did make day 2 this time, but without, of course, the normal drama. I get down late in the tournament. I'm down 11 bigs. I grind it up, and we're on basically the bubble, 21 players bag with 23 left. And there's an all-in on the other table. And of course, an all-in, you can't go look. And then on our table, I raised the late in the cutoff, the big blind shoves, and I snap call. I have pocket aces. And we already knew the other person had already busted. So everybody at my table was like, yes, we're going to day 2. We're back. Everybody's done because this guy bust. We're done for the day. And I'll bag 400K. He's got ace 10 offsuit, 2 10s on the flop. It's just
God.
like, it just sucks the whole energy out. So instead of going to day 2 with 400K, I did still bag, but I went in with 193K. But it's just that one of these things. So, you have to mentally reset. And I get to day 2. I start day 2 with 193K, it's 19 big blinds. And I grind it. Basically, I didn't play a hand the first 2 orbits because I got no cards. And I finally shove in middle position with 5s. It folds around to the big blind, and he folded king, queen. And because he looked at me, he says, you haven't played a hand. So, of course, I'm like, thank goodness. He didn't know I had 5s, but, it wasn't a race that I wanted. But the fact that I hadn't, it was my
Pretty
image.
good hand.
Yeah, exactly. So, which it was. That's why. And I, of course, when he showed it, I was just like, thank goodness, because like I said, I'm snap calling there with king, queen with my short stack. But his thing was I hadn't played a hand. So he figured his king, queen wasn't good. And the very next hand, I double through him when he shoves the button. And 2 hands later, I have ace king in my big blind, and it went from there, and I get up to 700K stack until this hand happens. This is where the chat will come in. I want a little feedback. There is a hand, middle position min raises. We're at the 20K, 40K level, and middle position min raises to 80K. The button calls, and I defend in my big blind. The flop comes queen 7-4, 2 spades and a heart or something. It was 2 spade flop, I think a heart or a diamond. We check to the button. He just overshoves the flop.
And what's our hand right now, Zoyan? Sorry?
That's what I'm going to tell you my hand in a moment. And that was the secret. He overshoves. Like I said, it's 260K in the pot. He overshoves. I snap shove behind him, and the original razor folds. And he grimaces when I snap shove behind him because he turns over. He has ace 10 of spades. He has a flush draw, which I was figuring. I had queen 7 of clubs, top 2 pair.
Oh, great.
So that's why I snap shove behind. And I'm just thinking, basically no spade. And I literally will be up 1.4 million in chips at that point. And like one of the tournament chip leaders. Ace on the turn, 4 on the river, and just it took me down to 200K. And like I said, Rick's on the rail. He just went, and it's just like, so one of those, and you just go. So this is my thing to if we have a moment to ask chat. I just thought it's one of those hands, I guess, that plays itself, because I even had one of the people I mentioned, they're like, well, why didn't you lead out? And I thought, I lead out. The original raiser is probably going to fold, but the person with the flush draw, the nut flush draw, he's probably going to come over the top and shove anyway. And that's one of those things. And I'm thinking, is there any other way I could have played that hand? And I've convinced myself that no, there isn't. But if someone can tell me, or I would love feedback, because I've replayed that hand over and over, and I went deep, but as a result, I never recovered from that, because at that hand, it left me basically with 5 big blinds, and I ended up going out in 53rd, which is still, I'm very proud of it, showing out of 1,620 players in the tournament. I did not plan on playing, but it's just one of those, you just think when there's 54,000 up top, you just go,
yeah.
So,
Joe, you look like you've got something you want to add there.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just thinking to myself that it's a lot like that scene in the Avengers movie, where I'm not doing my geekitude well today, where Cumberbunch's character is going through all of the different possibilities and ways that they can win the war, and he's like, no, we lose them all except for one way, and I just think you're going to find there's no way that you win the war. You're just destined to lose that particular war.
That particular hand. That's basically the only way I moved. I was just like, and like I said, that's what I said. I was just like, I don't think there's any other way I could have played that hand. So that was, in its sense, that was comforting in its sense, but not comforting in some ways. So,
well, yeah. And we're seeing some comments in the YouTube chat here, like Neil Jaworski saying nothing you can do there. Eric Ebsen saying tournament poker is just brutal. And I think it's one of those spots that, like, we talk about this all the time. Lorianne, like, you're an experienced player. You've been on both sides. Like, you've worked in the industry. You've been a player for a long time. When someone says to you, like, "Oh, Lorianne's just variance," like, shake it off. Like, how does that, like, how does that make you feel? And is there something different in this situation, or do you think it is just like a long run of sort of like losing the wrong flips, and it's just part of tournament poker, and it's just like it just sucks, and it's a terrible, harsh reality of it. But yeah, like,
sure, yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yes, to all of that. Yes, and that's what I struggle with. And I also mentioned, like I said, the panel has heard these because we're kind of in pre-production, but it's just the point where I feel like I'm becoming kind of a whiny bitch. Excuse the French. And it's like Joe's face. I'm just thinking, at some point you're like, damn it, when does this end? And that's what I mean. I don't know how much I want to continue with this, because, like I said, poker used to be. And it'll lead into Joe getting to that one of, like I said, an escapism for me, kind of like this podcast, which, like I said, that's why I love doing this every Monday. This is my escapism. So when you go to something that you want that should be fun, and you just kind of keep getting kicked in the teeth the same way. And in fact, I also mentioned it yesterday. I played a bounty tournament at South Point. Soft bubbled again, but I got 5 bounties. And the crazy thing is, the last bounty tournament I played at South Point about a month or 2 ago, I think about 2 months ago, I soft bubbled and got 5 bounties. So I'm doing groundhog and repeating the not so fun things over and over. It's, as I've already said, it's kind of the wash, rinse, and repeat. And sometimes, I'm reading the chat again, people. Yes, you get high when you keep getting kicked in the teeth. And
right.
I like my teeth. So it's just one of these things where you're just like, will something ever change? And I know downswings are all part of it, but that's what I mean. At some point, you just go like, I don't know. And I go back and forth. So that's what I mean, the crossroads that I'm at right now. Because I mean, even when I'm not playing right now, what am I doing? I'm freaking watching live streams on Poker Go, or like watching Final Table. So it's like I'm trying to get away from it, but then again, as my husband does it, but I have to admit, I keep pulling myself back in. So play Love Cash, his next poker book. Okay.
What's fascinating is the live poker scene in terms of like the softest fields, right? Live poker has the softest fields of any format that you have access to poker too. Maybe some of the jailed sites like Jim, maybe like Poker Stars Ontario might be on par with live, but generally live is softer than online. But like having played this game for the better part of 20 years and 14 of those 20 years online tournament players can go through month-long downswings, 2-month-long downswings. And in live, a month of online poker can be a year or 2 years of live poker. And so you can be a great player. In fact, there's great players out there who probably in their live results are losing players. And there's also live players out there who are winning players who are not winning players. They've just been on the high end of the bell curve when it comes to variance. And so it really is the ultimate game of attrition, determination, persistence, because to realize your full equity, like it can take a while. And that's kind of the beauty and ugly, I guess, of the live poker scene, because it's tough. Like it's hard to, you know, keep lining up, but you can look to the players in this game who are perceived to be crushing it, and they're the ones that are just putting in the most volume. Like there's a very strong correlation between volume and results, and I think some of that is our biases where, you know, we see somebody like, oh man, I keep seeing so and so and they keep posting screenshots, but when they don't post a screenshot for 2 months, they're just out of our minds, right? Like we're not cognizant. We're like, hey, wait, why haven't I seen Alex Foxen post in the last 6 weeks? What's going on? Is he playing bad poker? What's up? Right? We see the highlights, not the lowlights. So I guess I have to say, like, I think live poker is fascinating. I love it, but it is literally, if you ignore the field size, the hardest format of poker that exists. And that's a blessing and a curse, I guess.
Mm. And two things jump out at me hearing this conversation. The first is I'm always telling people, when you're as a recreational poker player, any poker player, you should be, when you're playing poker, you should either be making money or having fun. If you're not doing one of those two things, ideally both, but if you're not doing at least one of those two things, either one of them, then you can probably find a better use for that time in your day. If it's not fun and you're not making money.
Thus the crossroads.
Right. No, exactly. And then, I also get the sense, and I think we're getting some really good comments from the YouTube chat here, just how much of a kick in the ass MTT, like large field live tournament poker is. And like, we all know that the downswings are built into it, but it's just so discouraging to have these breaks not go your way in the biggest moments of these, whether they're bigger buy-ins or not. Like I said at the top of the show, I just don't get to play that much live poker. And like, if you run bad in the hands that you're dealt when you get out there infrequently, like it's really frustrating. I do think, Lorianne, for whatever it's worth, like the live poker scene is soft, just like the tournament poker scene is soft, but like the variance isn't as built into like the swings, like it really, at least it's sort of contained to one hand and not to like a whole day's work. If you lose a flip, have you thought about playing cash live and just decided not to because it's not something that you're comfortable with? Or is it something like, have you thought about having like sort of splitting your time a little bit between the two?
Yes. Answer again is yes and yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you. I've played maybe a handful of live sessions. I haven't played any live this year. Last year, ironically, the live sessions I played were at Resorts World. I don't know if that's kind of used to be my go-to place, and that's also a sign of how I'm running, because I'm not running well there. But the few live sessions I did play there, I actually did end up. I actually won. I didn't win an ass ton of money. I'm only in for 300. Right. But the point is, I know when to get out if I'm ahead. And it brings up, when you say variance, I still remember when I was a guest on this podcast, when you asked me what my poker nemesis is, and my answer was variance.
Yeah, I remember.
That is still my biggest poker nemesis.
Yep.
So Yeah,
Huh?
like I said, I go back and forth, and also, and we had the conversation. I won't get into it too deep because that'll take up Joe's time. Where I said there was other reasons too why I was considering. Hey, gotta let Joe speak. Considering stepping away as well, more of a personal level. So, but like I said, I'm literally at a crossroads, kind of looking over the edge of the bridge right now. So.
Mm.
Lorianne, if you tell my story, then people will like it more. So go ahead.
I'm not going to tell your story. It's all you.
But yeah, folks, if you have questions for Lorianne, maybe we can tease some of that personal stuff out of her. You never know. Ask the question in like a really flattering way, maybe, or something like that. Tell her how important it is to you.
I'm having technical difficulties.
Oh, sorry, we're breaking up.
Yeah, I'm breaking up. No.
Ah.
Breaking up.
Well, while Lorianne gets her connection issues sorted out, Joe Coolis, where are you at with poker these days? What's poker for you?
Well, I mean, as Laurie kind of alluded to, I often feel that, particularly now that my poker playing is at a crossroads of sort. I mean, it's probably a good word, but it's more like it's either a stop sign or it's a continue to just kind of press on. As I started playing poker in 2017. The purpose of my playing poker was to give myself a distraction from things that happened, in late 2016. I'll just leave it at that. And it was a means of essentially finding other things to do. And so I threw myself into this game. And it's been very good for me. I mean, it really was useful. I listened to a lot of podcasts. I got to meet a lot of very intelligent people, some of whom were on this panel. I'm just kidding. You're all some of the smartest people, but also people in the poker community, and found that it was not just people who are solely interested in making money. It's people who are thinkers and interested in probability. So it really did provide me with an opportunity to do something else besides obsessing about the thing that was making me pretty upset at the time. So, and my goal was always to get better and become a winner at the various levels online. I don't really have enough time to play live because where the casinos are. So it was like, okay, well, let's set up a 50 NL goal for myself and move up just like everybody else does and learn along the way. Right now, I'm actually a winning player at those stakes, most of the time. Actually, my numbers are good enough to say that I'm a winning player at all three stakes, 5, 10, and 50. And that makes me wonder, well, where do I go? Do I continue to press on this where you have diminishing returns based on study because it gets harder and harder? You can't have quite the improvements that you have. But some of the things I was mad about in 2016 happened again. And so I have to find a distraction. The problem is that poker has become, it can ruin my day when things don't go well because I have an expectation of doing better than before. I have a belief that I am better than at least some of the players at the table. And so the runouts become more painful because it's the thing I'm trying to do to distract myself from other things. And if I lose and I'm cranky, I don't have poker to go to in order to distract myself from the other thing. And then I have to go to that other thing, and that's not helpful as well. And so then do I have to find a third hobby in order to, and then I'm starting to run out of time. And so in a lot of respects, I still enjoy the game. And I keep coming back to it, and I never would want to quit because a lot of the friends that I have are in this community, and there are a couple people that 3 or 4 people actually in the study group that I have that are people we're even getting together in a few weeks. So I'd never turn that away. But I don't know that I can keep playing online poker in this way because I don't get the interaction socially that I enjoyed most, what brought me to the game in the first place. And I don't want to have days where I'm spending my time trying to figure out how not to be annoyed, because that is not that's essentially against the very reason I started playing poker in the first place.
Yeah,
so that's where I am.
I really like that way of framing it, Joe, because this is the Rec Poker Podcast. Our listeners are recreational poker players, and I think that's the best way to engage with poker is as a recreational player. But it's so you're doing it for fun, so it is that escape, like Lorianne was saying, right? And even for me, part of what makes it fun and enjoyable for me is that my income doesn't depend on it. But like you, Joe, I feel like I've actually gotten pretty good at poker over the years.
You're better than me.
Not by the score, not by this player of the year, a leaderboard. But I get what you're saying, that now you have like this your own expectation for yourself that you're going to succeed, or that you're going to at least, be competitive in this way. And I think, yeah, please.
No, and that's a part of it, but also the buy-in levels and the amount of effort that it's going to take the next steps. That's a high investment, right? And there are some things. My kids are older, and obviously, as like you, I have 2 jobs, and there are lots of things that I need to make sure that I'm spending a lot of time studying. And online poker is a temptation to be able to say, well, that's more interesting than looking at these medical records for the next 3 hours. And one of them is more lucrative than the other. I'll let you figure out which one it is. So, but the question is that what I want to spend the time doing, trying to force myself to become good enough at a particular in specific spots, like the time that people spend studying individual spots. I don't know if I want to do that, but I'm going to have to do that if I'm going to get better. And that will eat up so much more of my time. Will I be resentful that I've given so much time to something that I probably won't see any EV opportunities, because I'm not willing to drop 10 grand in a tournament on a regular basis to try to win, 8% of the time.
Yep. And yeah, I'm kind of curious about this, because I mentioned at the top sort of like how important game selection was for me. And because it's not something like, we're not trying to do this professional. I know like Rob Gardner, for instance, is a bit of an outlier there, but no,
You're gonna get kicked off.
Right? But do you feel like you need to ascend in the poker world in order to continue being like, is improvement really necessary, or can you just kind of like keep splashing around in the kiddie pool, or like in the lower stakes? And
well, I've said it before, and this is not a criticism. It's that if you're going to use, so game selection is all about choosing opponents who are inferior to you. And, one of the things I've always been concerned about in terms of live poker is being predatory against people who really can't afford to be there. And those are usually the people that you want to play against. And again, that they get to make their choices. I'm not being critical of anybody who is game selecting or doing it. I'm just not sure it's for me, because I can go, I could go to a 1-2 table and probably play tight and take money from everybody at the table all day long. But if I don't get something else from it, I don't know that this game holds enough for me to, like you said, I don't want to be demeaning and say splash in the kiddie pool 1-2, but the kinds of decisions that you have to make to have a strategy at 1-2 to win, or even at a smaller, a small daily tournament, are a lot easier and very basic to run in comparison to playing at high level against people who are regs, right? And we're always told don't play the regs, but how often do you get into something to beat the worst, right? And it's just never something that's appealed to me. I'd like to beat the best, but that takes time. And that, to me, is a question about whether I want to do that.
Yep. I think, you're a competitive guy, Joe. I know that. And I think there is an element of, if I'm, what am I trying to get at? You're also kind of like scoring against yourself, right? Like this is one of the ways that poker is a lot like golf. Like you are just always kind of, am I improving? Am I getting better at this? Like, I think it's part of your drive is that you do want to improve at it. But you also, like you say, you sort of have this, I think in your, I think it's like a false choice, but a choice between like really investing a lot into it and becoming good enough to like play at this very high level, or like you say, just kind of like stagnating in the automated it's not fun anymore because I'm just going through the motions streets. Do you feel like there's a middle ground available to you?
Well, I think that that's somewhat what I'm doing at this point. I mean, I'm on the podcast. I like having conversations with smart people about the game, about how it relates to things in the world, and I think that still satisfies a lot of the intellectual curiosity I have about the game, but also just really about the community, because I think there are. If you really look at the poker world, it is a microcosm of what happens at a larger level, both from a political standpoint, but also a socioeconomic status or socioeconomic level, in terms of how people are interacting, how people make decisions, what people think is important, and how we interact with one another. So while I am not one who thinks that poker is a complete the best example of how to exist in the world, or it teaches you all of life's lessons, I do think that there are aspects of how people interact with one another at the poker table that is a nice model for a lot of solutions. And my students are very tired of me saying, well, as a poker player, this is what I find, it's like, because you can relate those examples. So I think that that's the middle ground that I have right now. But the truth of the matter is when Jamel and Eric and Greg come to visit, or we get together, we play poker, and that's the thing we can talk about. And then we also talk about music, and we talk about other things. So it's the entree point to a lot of great relationships that I've had, to talk about a shared interest area that we all can talk about well. And every once in a while, I can win some money at it and not spend too much, spend all of my money on something, then be out of money at the end. So I think that that's the middle ground for me. At some point when my kids are grown up and I have all this time on my hands, if that ever happens, they'll grow up, but just I won't have the time. then maybe I will find a way to study harder and could get into something where I might consider a 3-week trip to the WSOP, but I'm not sure I want to do that right now.
Now, Lorianne, jump in. You had something, I think.
I was he's passed it by a little bit. I wanted to mention with regards to him saying, or how do I say, that's another thing that I struggle with, is how to move up in stakes, because it's the contrast when you're trying to do bankroll management and not playing above your means. And like I said, the main thing everybody harps on is bankroll management. And that's another one of the things I struggle with, because I feel I'm trying to do that. It's like, of course, I like to play higher stakes. And it's the old term, because I feel, if anything I learned from WPT, I think the higher buy-ins, and this has just been my personal experience, is the players are easier to bluff. And that's where a lot of times, even though I don't call myself a GTO player, a lot of those players are. So it's easier for me anyway, with an image that I have, to bluff those type of players. Whereas the tournaments that I'm playing in, unfortunately, a lot of times it works against me, where I know a lot of the players I'm playing with aren't studied players. They don't care about GTO. And their thing is they bought in, which is their right to play any 2 cards. And it just made me think of the situation yesterday while I was playing, where there were 2 limpers and I'm in the small blind. I did a 5X raise out of the small blind. They both call. And I had to go back because I was going back through my phone with the hand histories that I had. And I remember I c-bet the flop, king 4 deuce flop. I'll go through it really quickly. A 3 on the turn and then a 9 on the river. I triple barrel bluff is what I did with ace jack high. I had an ace jack. And she called me all the way down, and she was correct with 6-3 offsuit. And was correct. And I just thought, so there is no GTO there. So this is the kind of thing where I says, I don't know what else I can do. And I know the triple barrel bluff is rare, as we like to tease about it. But I'm thinking, I thought that should have worked, considering once I saw what her hand was. But that is why with me, I also struggle with trying to play within my means and my bankroll and everything else too. And it not working out, because players at this level, more times than not, will call you with those kind of hands. And like I said, I struggle with, it is their right. They paid their entry fee, so they can play any 2 damn cards they want to. But on the other hand, you go, really? Really? You called me with that? Really? What did you put me on? But they're not putting you on any, it's kind of a talking to the wall kind of a thing when you want to ask them, well, what did you put me on when I raised the pre-flop? when I bet the flop, when I bet the turn, and well, I don't know why she called me on the flop, but I guess now I think about it, I guess she had a gut shot. But it's going back to, why did she call my 5x raise pre-flop? I made it bigger because I was out of position in the small blind and was, just figured that's based on everything I've studied and read, that's what I'm supposed to do, raise bigger out of the small blind. But, and it just, so that's where the question comment, we're back to what Joe was saying about trying to play within your means. And I would love to, of course, move up bigger in stakes, but I can't seem to do it. And that's another big part of my frustration. I mean, I'm a rec player, but it's never been a dream of mine to just play the 100, or $100 to $300 dailies for the rest of my life. I'd like to occasionally, as I've done, swing for the fences and play bigger tournaments. And for me, when I say bigger buy-ins, somewhere between 600 and 1100. That's for me. I'm not a person that's ever going to consistently drop 10K on a tournament, because that's just not something I've ever wanted to do. Satellite in maybe, but that's what I wanted to add to it. So I don't take up too much time.
No. But what you're really talking about, Lori, is that you're a dancer, right? So you're going to come in, you're going to salsa your way across the court and do the tango and do the pirouette, do the splits, come back up without using your arms. And then somebody's going to come in and it'll just be quiet in the stadium, and someone's going to come in and do the Macarena, and then the crowd goes wild.
Well,
and that's really what playing poker is like. Is your triple barrel bluff play, is fancy. And it's not necessarily even fancy play syndrome. It's just smart, right? And you got beat by somebody who just had, the better hand and didn't know that they were supposed to fold in that situation. So you're not really playing the same game. And yet you want to be better, probably because of the money, but really what you want to do is just be better.
Better. And like you said,
Yeah.
Exactly. I want to feel that I can compete with the better player. I mean, I use Michael Jordan as an analogy. He never said he wanted to beat the worst players. He wanted to be the best and beat the best players. And that's what I said. I mean, I'm never kidding myself thinking I'm ever going to beat, being a league with Steven Chidwick or anyone or Jason Kuhn like that. But I would like to at least be somewhere, at the next level or a level above where I am right now.
I love the YouTube chat is doing a great job, by the way. We're having some really good conversations in there right now. Yeah, please keep getting your questions in. Yeah, we're going to ask some questions of all the panelists together at the end, but keep getting those ones in specifically. And I wish, if you're listening to this at home, I wish you could read all this great stuff in here. A lot of great feedback from people about different kinds of poker, live versus online, cash versus tournaments, and the pros and cons of the dailies and that kind of stuff. So more incentive for folks to come get involved in the YouTube chat. Chris Jones, you are also one of these players that I look up to a great deal as a poker player. You're definitely, you've cemented, your role as a recreational player over the last several years. But I think you have a very high ceiling as a poker player, and I think you believe that as well. Well, you're a humble guy, but I think you're a very cerebral. You approach poker in a very studied and thorough and meticulous way, and you have a lot of natural talent for the game. But where are you at with poker these days? What's up with poker?
I mean, I guess I would, for me, I think it's really healthy to take breaks from this game. I think this game can be something that can be hard at times. But I do think one of the things that I'm in a really good place with this game right now. I love it. I'm excited about it. I'm very excited to go back to the World Series, which I haven't been now in 7 years. I'm leaving in 6 days.
Boy.
I am just thrilled to bits about it. And one of the things that has helped me, I've been through, Lori, I've been through streaks like this where it just feels like I'm doing the right things, and and all the things that I studied, and I do the right things, and somebody does the wrong thing and they win. And it feels sort of unfair, and but I think one of the things that has been a really helpful mind shift for me in that is just sort of really thinking about like, am I still kind of enjoying this when I'm losing?
Mhm.
And for me, the answer is yes. And it doesn't mean that it has to be your answer, right? But
Mhm.
like, I am in this. I love this game because of the challenge. I love this game because it is one of these things that you can never stop learning and you can never stop improving. And there's always a new edge to gain. And there's always some piece of this that you didn't see coming. I've been doing some coaching recently with Matt Affleck, who I just recommend like intensely if anybody wants to do this. And we've been talking about multi-way spots lately, and I have to tell you, it has like I thought I know how to play multi-ways. I mean, not really. I know that they're the kind of the great unknown in the poker universe. There's no real solvers out there, at least not like a GTO wizard that's really building those spots for you. But like, it was eye-opening for me to go through this. And like, when I can find those spots where I discover like the next new thing or the next thing that like I can sink my teeth into and learn and grow with, that's what gets me up and gets me playing this game. And then if I go and do that, if I, I'm going to go to the World Series and I'm going to be in multi-way spots, people call all the time, especially in those live like WSOP tournaments. And if I take some of these things and it doesn't go my way, that's okay. But I'm so excited to do it. I'm so excited to like try some of these things and just kind of like, this game just kind of thrills me. And that's where I'm at. And that doesn't mean that everybody has to be there, because I get the frustrations and I get the two outers coming at just the wrong time in a tournament. And I get like why those things can just kind of break your soul. But I don't know. I keep coming back. Doesn't break my soul for long, I guess.
All to do.
Well, I love the way that we're approaching all these different kind of struggles and pillars of being a poker player, whether you're a professional or a recreational player. Chris, do you think that you're losing with a smile? Because I get that too. People like I bust and I'm not connected to it. Like I bust with a smile. I congratulate, like I'm on my way on to the next. Do you feel like you're busting with a smile because you are like more numb to the experience of just busting because like that's part of tournament poker? Do you think it's because you know that you still have like more secrets to unlock in this great game that we're pursuing?
It's a bit of that, but it's also like this sense of that, I think playing a lot online, when I started playing a lot online, it's just one of these things where you just start to realize that like you're supposed to bust a lot. You're supposed to go out in sick and gross ways a lot. You're supposed to get two outed a lot. And the thing that I think about winning and losing is that like when you two out somebody else, it never feels as good as when as bad as it feels when somebody two outs you. And that's just like a psychology thing. That's sort of like, Joe could probably explain this, but I, like I think kind of like finding my peace with that after like just seeing it happen more in kind of like rapid succession actually helped me. It was like, okay, I guess this just happened. So now when it happens live or it happens in a big spot or it happens I'll be like, God, that would have been nice. I could have been chip leader. There's 12 left. I could have been chip leader of this tournament. There's, 40K up top. This was a big spot for me. And that sucks that my ace king didn't beat their queens. But like, I don't know. Some part of me has come to just be like, yeah, but that's supposed to happen. And you're going to, in this game, only one person ever leaves a tournament happy, right? And that, there's like 500 people enter a tournament, 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 people enter a tournament, and one person leaves it happy. And so, I mean, that I think you have to sort of find, for me, I had to find some sense of like, I can't just be only happy if I win a tournament. And like, you know, I think, I don't know, Arthur Ashe, that great poker or the great tennis player, was asked about, you know, why are you so successful, right? Like what do you think contributes to your success in the game? And he said, it's because I'm actually looking at it because I want to get it right. Success is a journey, not a destination. And like, I think that's a mindset that helped me in terms of like how I think about the game too. Like that losing is part of that. And then like, hopefully we win sometimes, and hopefully we win enough to actually become a winning player. And hopefully we make enough good decisions over the course of a tournament or a course of our poker career. And we keep making better decisions. And when we can learn from those bad decisions, that's what keeps me going. Right. It's like, I want to learn from all the bad decisions that I make.
It was, I agree with that. I was going to say and I agree with the mindset that there's only one winner in a tournament. So to go in expecting to win, you're always going to be disappointed. But in my case, it's not losing. It's how I've been losing. Like flips don't even bother me. Literally, for lack of a better term, I just flip flop.
It's the sickness of losing. It's like
it's like I said,
the unfairness of
It's the 80-20 and 70-30s that leave a really bad taste in my mouth. Like I said, flips don't even bother me anymore. It's like, learned that a long time ago that you have to. I remember who was it years ago when I first started playing poker that who was Jennifer Phil Locke. I remember he's the first person that says if you can't win flips, you can't win tournaments, or you got to win flips to win your tournament, something along that. So I learned that years ago. So like I said, that doesn't even faze me anymore. It's just those beats where you're just so far ahead. And like you said, for a crucial part of the tournament, and especially in the South Point, because the structure later on, I already knew from the first time they did it that the structure wasn't built for as many people as they ended up with. So I had already told myself, if you get down one to the final table, I was trying to do it in steps, the final 3 tables. Then if you make to the final table, that probably the top 5 were once again going to chop, which is what they did last time, because the structure doesn't allow them to ever play it down. Well, this time they chopped the top 6. And the player took home $40,000, which for a $300 buy-in, that's crazy money. Let's be honest with you. You know, to run well in the tournament all day, and like I said, so that's the dream. But like I said, it wasn't even about winning. I was just hoping to get down to where I knew I would have a chance at an ICM chop. And I know some people are out there no chop, but in certain situations like that one, where it becomes a shove fest, I'm always for a chop. I mean, let's be honest, we're here to make money.
So
the other. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to comment in terms of your Arthur Ashe discussion, and I think that what you found is essentially for me, what is separating us at this point beyond your much better skill is you have found the study is enough for just the enjoyment of itself without the rewards that come from playing and so on. And I think that look, that's an easy thing to say. And I think that people often very much say, well, you have to make it that way. But it's really not what most people get into the game to do. And determining in terms of, well, what is the EV that we're going for? Because the money's never really going to work out for the vast majority of people. So you have to find something else in the EV, right? Like maybe just the playing or the going to the tables or whatever it is. And for me, I think I haven't found that moment yet where I'm saying it's just enough to sit with a bunch of tables and start figuring out how I'm supposed to play hands of particular things, whereas you found that. And true greatness is always found based upon an individual who loves the standing in, like he was a tennis player standing in front of the garage and just hitting backhand after backhand after backhand after backhand. And that's the only way to get better. It's just not for everybody. Right. And we can't force it. It either has to occur or it's not there. And it's great that you found it.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I'm not trying to suggest that and therefore everyone should do this. But I'm just saying that's for me what has kept me, going through sick beat after sick beat.
Rob?
Yeah, I think statistically speaking, and this is going to be tough to swallow, but I'm just going to speak some truth here. If you're practicing game selection and you are trying to play this game at a high level, you're more likely to bust as an 80-20 favorite than any other way in a poker tournament. It's similar to, if you've ever heard the silly adage that, insurance companies use that, the majority of accidents happen within 3 miles of your house.
Mhm.
Well, that's because the majority of the driving you do is
Mhm.
within 3 miles of your house. So when you're playing bad players, you get into more 80-20s. You get into more 80-20s, you lose more 80-20s. And so that's the most common way to bust. And that's tough to hear, but I think that's important. The other thing that goes with that is just because of cognitive bias, and Joe, this is your realm, so you can speak to this better than I can. If I shake your hand and say hi to you one day and ask you about it 10 years from now, you're not gonna remember it. If I punch you in the face, you're gonna remember that the rest of your life. And what ends up happening in these poker tournaments is we're winning effective 80-20s and 70-30s throughout the tournament to get to a place where the 80-20 really hurts because it really matters. And a lot of times when we lose that key 80-20 in that key spot, we've won 8, 10, 12, 14 along the way. And we've actually deserved to lose a couple 80-20s by that point. And then we finally lose one because there's so much on the line. It feels like injustice. It feels like this isn't fair, but in reality, it might actually be we've done better than we should have to that point. Like we've won 90% of our 80-20s or 95, and we're regressing to the mean. It makes tournament poker so cruel.
And that's what I mean by it's always at the wrong time. Not that there's ever a good time to lose an 80-20, but that's what with me, and it gets to me, it's always at a crucial point, like excuse me, he was alluding to. I lost my voice there. Like Chris was alluding to, is the timing of it. It's like you said, deep in a tournament, and when everything really matters at that point, it's just like, why now? Not that there's ever a good time for it. Sorry, Joe, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say that I think one of the things that I realized about poker, which I was very surprised about, is that we spend a lot of time with hype videos, getting ourselves hyped up for a particular tournament because we're going to do well, and we're just going to fire, and we're going to have all our brain. But poker works over the long term, so it's more like climbing a mountain and sitting up as a guru on the top, and allowing, being the fool on the hill, and letting all that stuff kind of pass you by as you just continue to play until such time as you accumulate the effects of having an edge that's very, very small. And I don't think that the average poker player, regardless of how much they play, understands that concept. It's not a game that you go in and battle. It's just not. You go in and you play, and you're matching wits to some degree, but you're basing your advantage on a very small margin over a very long period of time. And so it's a meditation. It's not an active sport. At least that's my opinion.
And I want to just take that as a bit of we're going to talk to Rob Gardner about his own place in poker. But first, I just want to remind our YouTube audience, if you type the words food bank into the chat, then you'll be entered into our raffle at the end of the show to win a fantastic prize. We're going to be giving away either a month of premium membership here at Rec Poker, or if you are already a Rec Poker premium member, you'll get a month at one of our learning partners, all those fantastic training sites around the world that understand, like us, that recreational poker players are the future of the game. And so they share a lot of their learning materials with us in our premium membership program. So I'll just make that pitch again. If you want to support what we're doing here at Rec Poker, you can go to rec.poker/support. There's some great ways to help us out there. If you want to help us out financially, being a premium member is definitely the best way. It's $22 a month, but you can always get your first month for only $5 by using the code podcast. If $22 is a lot of money, we'd love your support on our Patreon channel. If you're interested in more an audio file, most of our premium membership training videos are available through our Patreon for $10 a month. Downloadable as an audio file right to your phone every month. So it's a great way to help out what we're doing. We also take donations through the YouTube chat, and we're sharing all of our June donations. Well, every month we share our donations with a local food bank. In the month of June, we're actually sharing them with Chad Holloway's chosen food bank called Beyond Blessed, which is part of Chad's competition on the reality show Live to Give this summer. And if folks want to support what he's doing there, of course, feel free to make any donation to Rec Poker through the YouTube chat with a super chat or a super sticky or a super comment. You can also go to Live to Give. I hope it's livetogive.com. My apologies, Chad, if it's not. And just make a donation in Chad's name. That'll help him out on the reality show that he's playing later this summer. But for us, get those food bank words typed into the YouTube chat. And of course, I also want to encourage our listeners to just pull out their smartphone and Google food banks near me. They'll find a fantastic organization that can benefit from a few dollars out of their pocket, a few volunteer hours out of their week, or some non-perishable food items from their pantry. And I'd encourage everyone to please go help out a fellow human by supporting your local food bank. Some really good stuff coming through the YouTube chat here. I'm so pleased that we have this fantastic group of people as one of the facets of our amazing organization here at Rec Poker that I'm so proud to be a part of. Rob Gardner, you've come into Rec Poker from kind of a different route. A lot of the Rec Poker members have started being podcast listeners or playing in the home game. They've kind of learned more about the game, become premium members. Some of them have taken the plunge to become Wrecking Crew members themselves and help share their love of poker with the recreational poker world. You came to Rec Poker already being quite an accomplished poker professional. Why don't we start with kind of like where you at, as we're saying, to get this episode. I know we've got some questions specifically about your own poker journey and the work you're doing at Rec Poker. Jump in, boss.
Well, let me start by just saying that if you're out there in chat and you ever hear of Jim selling action to the main event, you should support that cause, because had Jim not played in the main event, I might not be here right now. Jim ended up at my table. What was that? 3 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah, that's right.
Because it was the first season of Chase the Dream. Jim ended up at my table. We had a wonderful conversation. Had a fun time at the table. We played 5 hands together. He won 4 of them. I got him back a little bit at the Rec Poker weekend, but
that's true.
Seriously, it's fascinating to think about just how community works in poker and how that brought us all together. But I took a gamble this summer, a really big gamble. I've been at Vegas 5 of the last 6 years, and 2 of the last 3 years, I was like, I'm not going to go. I see all my friends go out there, play a bunch of buy-ins, get pissed off about the big fields and how many times they lose and come back with less money than they had. And, it's always hyped up before they go. And then everybody goes home broke and tilted, and, it takes them forever to recover emotionally. And I'm like, I just don't want to do that. And both of those times that I was in that mood, I was like, I'm not going. And then like June 1st hits. And I don't even remember what the 2 events were that triggered it, but both times I was like, shit, I'm going. And I literally went from not going to going in 48 hours. And shout out to my wife, who is amazing and just literally blindly supports this. Like anytime I'm just like, I need to go. And she's like, let me help pack your bags. And so I think all of my friends just assumed that I was going to go this year again, because, I was talking about not going, and I've done this before, but I just had a really strong feeling about 2.5 months ago that this was just a year to take off for me. When Global pulled out of the Vegas market and then the New York market, I knew there was going to be opportunity to really build bankroll and take advantage of the fact that all the best players were in Vegas and not playing on the site. And that was going to open up, opportunity for the fields to be softer, for there to be overlay, so on and so forth. And I've been one that's always done so many things and had my hands in so many projects and doing things in the community that bankrolls where I've struggled. Building bankrolls where I've maybe not put enough time into my career to get the type of bankroll that is commensurate to where my skill is. And so I just kind of quietly committed. I'm like, I'm staying home this year and I'm grinding online and I'm going to build role. And then when everybody else is exhausted at the end of the World Series, I'm going to hit the live streets and I'm going to be rested and focused and studied. And I'm going to have a healthy bankroll and I'm going to go. And, you know, the first 3 weeks of that plan worked horribly. I ran terrible. I think on June 15th, I had exactly $1,200 less bankroll than I had when I started the summer. And there were some things going on, you know, here at the house that wasn't like anybody's fault or anything, but was definitely eating into my focus and my ability to just, you know, put poker in the forefront. And I was starting to have a little bit of that, oh, you know, I felt good about this. Like, but then I stuck with it. And last night, I played a bunch of Saddies on Global to the 99s and up, bricked every single one of them. The very last Saddie to the 218 scrimmage, which was their main, I played a couple of them. The very last one, I snuck in, got a seat, got regged for 60 big blinds. You know, the tournament had already been running for like an hour and a half. And I'm like, all right, well, here we go. And picked up a bounty, picked up another bounty, picked up a double bounty. And all of a sudden it was just like, okay, maybe I'm going to cash this. Like maybe I'm going to, you know, get that $1,200 back. And then it just kept going and going and got final 2 tables. Got in a really tough spot. I had Aubrey on my left. I don't know if those of you that know Aubrey, she's a crusher. Had a huge stack and I was just ICM handcuffed. I couldn't do anything. And so, you know, it was one of those spots you get down final 10, final 11. There's a couple real shorties and you're like 7th in chips and you're just like stuck. And so tightening up. Long story short, sneak into the final table with 4 big blinds. The shortest stack has 1 big blind. So now I can't even like play aggressive my 4 big blinds. Folding. Get the 1 big blind gets in the big blind. They're forced all in and I'm under the gun with king 10 off. They have a $670 bounty on them. I'm like, I have to go here. So I'm just like shoving it in, hoping I know I'm going to get multiple callers. I'm just hoping that the short stack isn't the one that wins everybody so that I can at least get the ladder to 7th. And I had king 10. I don't remember. There was like 2 pocket pairs and like an ace 9 type hand or something. And it was
10.
like 9-6-3 flop, queen turn, jack river. And all of a sudden I get the bounty. I have 15 big blinds now out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh, I might get 6th. And then the very next hand, I defend the big blind, flop a flush draw on overs, player bets, I snap shove, they snap call, turn the flush, they have the flush redraw, fade that by some miracle. And now all of a sudden I'm 3rd in chips. And it's like, what is going on here? And long story short, ended up finishing 2nd. Aubrey actually took 1st and turned $33 into like 8,800 and felt a hell of a lot better about not being in Vegas. And it's one of those things like I can't stress this enough. Whether you're recreational, part-time, ambitious, you want to go full-time someday, or even poker is your career, like you have to find your own path. It's so important. It's so easy for everybody to say things like, well, you have to play this tournament. Well, you have to go here and play. Well, you have to play cash games. Well, you have to play the WSOP. Well, you have to play big buy-ins. You have to play small buy-ins. You have to fire 10 bullets. And it's like, that's all great in principle, but like, you know, we all have different strengths and weaknesses. We all have different tendencies. We all have different sweet spots where we operate best. And you know, if you're putting yourself into situations that you're uncomfortable in, or that don't fit with your style or your method of play or your approach to life or anything, even if that's a good opportunity on paper, it doesn't mean that it's a good opportunity for you. And so this is kind of a special year for me because I always wanted to do a year of traveling like a circuit and seeing what I could really do. I was really close to doing it back in 2011. And then something called Black Friday happened and all the investor money dried up. And I never got to really go to fruition with it. And like life has just taken my family on a road where my wife's on a new job. She's doing a lot of studying for that. She loves it, but she's really focused on that. You know, all of the girls are kind of back in the area, and so they're doing lots of girl stuff, the kids, the grandkids, and dads aren't cool. And so like I'm kind of over here on an island, and I'm just realizing like this is the year. Like I know if I don't take this step, if I don't take this chance, I'll look back in 30 years and I'll be like, I never tried. I never did it. I never saw what I could have done. And I will seriously regret it. And so I'm just kind of listening to life. I'm like, all right, this is it. Or we're gonna do this. And so you know, I'm gonna go after Run Good Player of the Year this year. And I probably don't have the bankroll that I need to do that, but I don't care. Like, let's go have some fun. Let's take a shot. Let's be ambitious. The worst thing that happens is I torch a bankroll and end up with a really small bankroll 3 months in, and I'm not running for Run Good Player of the Year anymore. I've built a bankroll from nothing more times than I can count. So there really is no downside for me. But the upside is off the charts. And, you know, win or lose, succeed or fail, I'll at least know in 40 years that I gave it a shot. So I'm excited. I've got, you know, 3 weeks until I leave for Choctaw. So I'm just really doing a lot of bank building, a lot of studying, getting some studying done, working with my students. And then it's going to be go time. I've only played 3 live series in the last 2 years, which would have been a lot for me 10 years ago. But like compared to the last like 6 or 7 years, it's the least amount of live poker I've ever played. But I'm fresh. I'm feeling healthy. And yeah, we're just going to take a shot and see what happens.
That's fantastic, man. I'm so excited for you. And, you know, I know like we're talking about in live tournament poker, you know, variance is going to have a lot to do with it. But I know that you're going to make good decisions with the spots that are in front of you. And that's really all we can do. When you talk about your bankroll, I think I haven't put this together in my own mind before, but it's kind of like the purpose of a bankroll is to get spent on poker chips, right? It's just like, and I think like, you know, if you have a big bankroll, then you're comfortable playing, you've got cushion, you know, you've got all these, you've got a higher cap on the buy-ins that you can play. But it's a lot like poker, folks. Like when you're playing in a tournament, your stack is kind of like your bankroll. And when you've got a big one, you've got more cushion. You can absorb more bad beats and that kind of stuff. But ultimately, if you are comfortable playing a short stack, then there's, you know, losing some of your bankroll is just how it goes. When you know how to build up a bankroll from a smaller one, using it effectively is what it's there for. So I'm very excited to see how this mission goes for you. Look out, Run Good. I will say,
yeah,
they're
Benny,
a fun group
Benny
too.
says, oh, I love that series a lot. Benny says, you know, try to get set up on Stake Kings or Poker Stake. I think you'd be surprised how many people buy your action. So I'm glad he brought this up. I've never had trouble selling action. I've sold a lot of action in the past, but me and my wife had a very long conversation this weekend. And without getting too personal, you know, when we were raising our kids, we did a lot of, we were a team, I guess is the way I would say it. Like we had this challenge of raising our kids, and we were constantly interacting with each other to do it to the best of our ability. And it always felt like this huge challenge, obviously with a blessing, but a huge challenge, but we were working out together. And now that the kids are all grown up and have families of their own and everything, she's working on her projects and I'm working on mine. And we're still supportive of each other insanely, but it's like we kind of don't have this shared thing. And so we had a long conversation this weekend, and I'm like, babe, it terrifies me to say this, but I said, I think I need to take this year on with not selling any action, because it's going to force us to work together on finances and emotional health and stability and, you know, staying on top of things. And it's going to be the first project we've worked together on in like 3 or 4 years. And while it's scary as hell, I also perform better under pressure. I always have. I've been somebody that the more pressure there is, the better I do. And I'm like, I don't, just like with the Vegas thing this summer, like, I don't even know if I can explain it, but I just know I need to give that a shot. And so I can always change my mind and sell action. Like that's always on the table. Like I can always do that. But I do think that, you know, one of the reasons I've struggled in the past to elevate my game is I've always sold so much of my action that when I do have those upside days, it's like, oh, I finally realized my equity and shipped this big tournament. And then I shovel off 70% of those profits to all of these really happy investors. And I never take that extra leap. So taking a lot of leaps of faith here. You know, I'm gonna start on my own dime and see how far we can get under that realm. So, but just to preface, you know, my wife has a really good job. Like, I'm not like risking our savings account and like, you know, we're gonna go homeless if this fails. Like, I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression. But you know, it is daunting to go from, you know, playing $20 to $30 tournaments online to I'm gonna go play 8K and buy-ins at a live series. And if it goes bad, I'm going to lose a used car, you know, like that's going to be a stretching moment for me that I look forward to and also am absolutely mortified by.
Nice. Well, I mean, I'm really excited for you. Like I said, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to be along for the journey too. I think you're going to be really good at sharing that with the poker world as well.
Man, Jim, now you want me to make an announcement. You're talking about journeys. I kind of
want to. Oh boy, yeah. Why not get out there?
I kind of want to talk about. So those of you guys that know, we did a Chase the Dream season 1 like 3.5 years ago. Followed me and Paul and KL. There's a season 2 we're going to be working on this fall, and our very own Jim Reed is going to be covering his journey and all of these escapades that he's going to be doing in Canada, and that kind of content's going to be coming out. I can't give you an official date yet, but probably like September, October-ish time. So be on the lookout for that. We'll talk about that more soon, but I am super excited to tell Jim's story. Those of you that have ever seen or played with him live know that there is an ambiance to him that is unlike anybody else out there. He brings a joy to the poker table that I wish I had the skills to do. So it's going to be really fun capturing the highs and lows of him dominating the Canadian circuit. Don't let him fool you. He's going to be out there wrecking souls this fall, and we're going to be there for it.
Well, it is pretty exciting. I'm excited to be part of this group that you have together, and I know you're a big part of the recreational poker world, and I know you're going to be a great ambassador for it, and I'm excited to be along for that in a big way. It's pretty cool, Rob. Pretty cool. Last chance for folks to get some questions in here before we wrap this up. I know we're saying goodbye to Joe Coolis here, but if you have questions for Joe, he's often a panelist, and you can hit him up on the next week's edition. Rob, there's a question for Benny here. So what's rec poker to you, and how do you kind of like what? Well, no, that's the right way to ask it. What's rec poker to you?
This is going to sound a little grandiose, but rec poker is the savior of the poker industry. This game has gotten so fixated on toxic people, negativity, outlandish behavior, high rollers, high stakes, elite poker players, that we've all forgotten that this game started in home games and in basements and golf clubs and, you know, places, people playing in their garages. We've forgotten the nature of the game. And as much as I would love to hope and be optimistic that, you know, the poker community will figure it out and start, you know, telling the stories of everyday poker players, and we'll go back to the moneymaker era where, you know, accountants winning bracelets changed the world. I don't see that changing. And so for poker to survive, being blunt, it needs a community that puts the spotlight back on the everyday poker player and creates a place where everybody can belong and everybody can be a part of this game that we love and have a healthy relationship with it. And so I see rec poker as quintessential to poker being around in 5, 10, 15 years. And so it is, you know, it is the biggest, most important project that's going on in poker. And that's why I'm just kind of folding everything I do into it, because I see the value of it. I love the people that are involved in it. And it is been the healthiest part of, I guess, my poker journey, because, you know, 5 years ago, I was on Twitter every day, hanging out with all of the toxic people, listening to all of the same stories. And I wasn't getting burned out on poker, but I was getting burned out on the people of poker. It was irritating the living hell out of me, and it was putting me in a bad mood, and it was making me grumpy. And if anything, it was part of why I hated going to Vegas in the summer, because it was like being in the center of all that. It was just like amplifying all the drama. And what's been so refreshing about rec poker is I mean, you guys would know better than me because you've been around longer. I don't remember the last time rec poker had drama. I don't remember the last time two people in rec poker were having a huge argument about who the better player is, or you know, whether this person's a winning player. And like it just, it doesn't exist. And so it's given me a second chance to find a place to kind of belong and hang out and enjoy this game again, not just for the game itself, but everything that comes with it.
That's a beautiful answer, man. See, this is why you're so good for the game, Rob. And I'll say it's been great having Rob get more and more involved in what we're doing here. He's really become one of the leaders here at Rec Poker. And I'm just so damn excited to be surrounded by all these awesome poker people. Like, god damn, people. Like, I get to I jump on phone calls with all these wrecking crew members and make all these fantastic plans for how we're going to like spread our love for poker all over the world and help recreational players get better. And it's just like, yeah, we are truly lucky people. All right. We
now
are
that
going
I know
on.
Rob is upset that there's no drama in rec poker, I'm gonna stir up some drama.
You get in there.
I'm gonna create some drama between now and next Monday.
Lorianne, I think you and Joe are like, you've got drama on the horizon. You two are the ones that
Okay.
I believe.
Well, no drama.
I take back my statement. We do have a Taylor Moss, so there is some
I'm
drama.
gonna say, I'm gonna create some drama. I don't know how, but I'm gonna figure it out.
I believe it. I'm looking forward to that too.
No drama. I like the drama. I like drama-free spaces.
Is Somsky frozen? Do we have?
I think,
Somsky?
I think he is frozen. He's a meme now. John Somsky he has reached meme level.
It's that time of the night. It's usually towards the end of the podcast. It's just like he freezes up.
Right
It's,
on
It's like he's run out of steam. There's just like only so much podcasting we can do.
We got some great questions from the audience. So let's run through these questions. And I know we're already getting up close to time here. So John says he can't even unmute. Oh, John. All right. So we got, first of all, I want to congratulate longtime listener Neil Jaworski. Congratulations on your second place tournament that happened at the other place. So we won't get into the details, but congratulations.
Yeah, he
Neil,
informed the chat that he was actually, despite what I said, is only one person leaves the tournament happy. He was quite happy that he won second in that. So congratulations, though. That's awesome, man. Second. Yeah, that's a big score. It's like 15K. It's a really nice score.
Fantastic. We got a question from Mike Day. How often do you all use poker references like at your jobs or in your lives? I will tell you, Mike, I'll let the panel answer for themselves. But my wife is so sick of me saying it's a lot like poker that it's actually a running gag here in the house, or we're all open my mouth and she'll like look at me and say, is it a lot like poker, Jim? Is that what it's a lot like? Is poker the thing that it's a lot like? So yeah, I don't use it that often at work. But I do use it in like basically every other facet. And actually, now that I think about it, I do use it at work quite a bit. So
yeah, I use it. I use it mostly when there's like when we're talking about something at work, and there's like somebody says, "Well, it's a really small probability of this catastrophic thing happening," right? You know, it's probably only like 5-10%, and you know, like I'm like. 2 outers on the river. I've seen enough of those 5%ers that's not non-existent or whatever. So like I always sort of point those out when people are like, it's not gonna happen that often. I'm like, okay.
It's funny. I used to be so embarrassed. Like even as recent as like I'd say 5-6 years ago, I was so embarrassed to say I played poker full time. And my wife used to yell at me. She's like, nobody's going to be like, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like a gambler and people don't understand. And then I don't remember. I was like at the dentist or something and like was talking about it. And like the whole office stopped and started asking me questions. And they were like so blown away by it that it kind of like calmed my nerves. It's so weird to think about because now I don't care. Like I'll tell everybody. But like for the longest time, I was just like, I was ashamed. It was wild.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a question from Eric Ebson. Because if you've purchased poker training, what made you finally decide to purchase it and to stick with it? Again, I'll go first. So I had, I guess, I had some good results online after I got Poker Tracker 4 and started playing more seriously. And I gave myself like a threshold. And I was like, okay, when I've made this much money in online winnings, then I'll like be good enough that I'll like be worth going to get some training and like get some coaching. And I was like, ugh, it's so dumb to think about it like that. Like honestly, everyone should be investing a little bit of your bankroll or your poker budget in getting some coaching, some group coaching, something that's directed at you specifically, your game. Because everyone who's listening to this and everyone on the panel has leaks and gaps in their game and mistakes that they're making that they're just blind to because it's their own game. And if someone else can come in and challenge some of your assumptions, it can be extremely valuable, even if you're not a very experienced player yet. Like, just get that help to leapfrog over you manually finding all these leaks and plugging them yourself. It's just a huge advantage to get some help doing that a lot more quickly. For me, I was a lurker, as everyone knows. And so I wrote into the Thinking Poker podcast after I'd hit my threshold of online earnings. And I invested in a video database review from Andrew Brokus. So it was just like a one-off. It wasn't like an ongoing coaching program. But it was really helpful for me, shone a light on a bunch of stuff I wasn't even thinking about. And I have worked with other coaches at various points, whether it's through Rec Poker. Well, actually, it's almost all been through Rec Poker through our premium membership. And I guess I don't know. I want to answer your question here, Eric. I haven't like stuck with it because I haven't maintained a poker coach the entire time, but I have been involved in like poker coaching on and off for most of my poker career. I've just found it to be extremely valuable. Who wants to jump in and talk about what caused them to do it in the first place and whether it's worth doing? Chris, you look like you're ready.
Well, I mean, what caused me to do it in the first place is, I'm curious about this game. I wanted to get better, but I think the thing that has been immensely helpful for me in terms of sticking with it and because I know, and I think I know what questions being asked here is like, sometimes you sign up for these things and you actually don't even like take advantage of them or whatever. But I long ago created, I don't even know what I would call this. I don't really have a name for it, but I created this like notes sheet. I guess I would call it a heuristics sheet where like I will go through these courses and I will sort of like try to like summarize, well, what's the thing that I can actionably take away from this and actually apply in game? Like what's like, it's fine and great to watch some genius poker player talk about some spot, right? And like this hand, and they had ace king and they did this magical play, but like, what does that mean for me? And like that practice, now I have this sheet thing that's really, really, really long at this point. It's like one big notes document. It's hugely long, but I can sort of like go to that and I can find things that I can just, I can like really quickly go through this and be like, oh yeah, I know that, but I want to remember that. And I want to remember that. And it helped me stick with sort of going through the training because it didn't feel like it was just this sieve that I was just like watching somebody smarter than me talk about poker and then I would forget it 10 minutes later, or I wouldn't be able to apply it in game. That's the thing that actually helped me the most.
And I should actually, I misread the question. I thought it was specifically about coaching. And so if we're talking about poker training, I do think that is kind of a separate thing because there's so many ways to get poker training videos, to join conversations like happen at Rec Poker. And Eric, when you talk about like stick with it, I think what that really comes down to is it's a bigger question than that. It's a question of building some routine in your life having some accountability
Mhm.
to other people. The real question is accountability. Having people like your friends at Rec Poker, because I know a lot of people listening to the podcast, they have great friends, they have thriving social lives, but they don't have people in their day-to-day lives that they can talk poker with, and that's why they come to Rec Poker or some of these other training sites out there. But having some accountability is big, and what you're really asking is, like, how do you motivate yourself to do the hard work that bears fruit tomorrow in this hobby that you enjoy? And I think that's sort of a question that's going to be different for everybody. I struggle with that motivation and that discipline for all sorts of things in my life, poker among others. But I do think having a plan, having a realistic plan that has time in the week for what is important to you, and whether it's watching videos, getting coaching, working with solvers, getting reps, whatever that means for you. I think accountability and having a realistic plan are two of the best things you could do.
Yeah. I think they go hand in hand, Jim. Like, one of the best things about coaching is it can give you that plan, right? Obviously, some people have the ability to do that themselves, but one of the biggest challenges with training sites is not the content. There's great content on all of our learning partner sites. It's where do you dig in on 2000 video libraries, right? And if you have a coach that can look at a hand history and say, hey, here are the 3 or 4 or 5 things you need to work on, then it's a lot easier to go into a training site like, oh, well, my coach says I need to work on check raising, so let me find some videos about check raising and how to build your check raising ranges and how to play post flop once you've check raised. Whereas if you don't have that coach to kind of give you a direction, it's so overwhelming that you're just like, there's infinite options, and then you just it's the paralysis of analysis.
And I'll just give an example. So, like, I work with a lot of premium members or Rec Poker members in our own coaching program, and I had a client who didn't have a lot of hands with Poker Tracker. So for our first couple sessions, we just sort of spoke about poker abstractly, and we took some hands that they played recently that they were recording by memory, but I had them sort of like build up a bit of a database of hands. And when we started looking through the hand history, like, we found, well, one spot in particular where it's like, listen, looking at this, it would be impossible for you to spot this on your own, but using all the stuff like the filters and reports, I can find this one thing that you're doing that's black and white. Like, this is a mistake. You're losing a ton of chips, but when you do this, and it's just not something that you're going to be able to find on your own. And it's not something, but really it just comes down to like the efficiency of learning and like getting someone to shine that light on the path ahead. We got a question here from Jason Spooner. Where do you find personal coaching? There is a lot. It's just like training material. There's a lot out there. It's not all good. Like, the part of the problem is there's an almost infinite number of videos on YouTube that claim to help you get better at poker. Some of them will, some of them are outdated. Some of them were just never very good in advice at all. So getting some guidance on to like what to work on, like Rob is saying, is really important. When it comes to finding a coach, I do think there's some value in just finding other people to talk poker with. They don't even have to be necessarily excellent poker players, but like, that's better than just trying to do it on your own. When it comes to finding a personal coach, I would say get references, obviously I would say go to rec.poker/coaching. You can find all sorts of great folks on the Wrecking crew who love working with our members, from anywhere from, I think it's about $45 to $100 an hour, depending on the coach and what kind of work you're trying to do. Or go shoot your shot like Chris Jones and work with Matt Affleck for, I don't know what Chris is paying, but I think when I talked to Matt last, it was a couple $100 an hour or something like that, which is excellent value to get the kind of amazing insight that he can bring to the table. Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, and just people like him, I would go if there's ever like any kind of training material that you like or that resonates with you or that feels like it's this is somebody that I can really learn from, because, you know, they have a YouTube video or they teach poker or think about poker in a certain way that really resonates with you. That's why I signed up to work with him. I kind of invested in myself before this World Series. I knew I was going for the first time in 7 years. And I have always just loved the way he talks about poker and thinks about poker. It's just, it really, and it might not be for everyone. Somebody else might be somebody else's sort of fit, but like that I think is a really good sign of somebody who might be a good coach with you. If you sort of resonate with some of the ways they think about or talk about poker.
Well said.
And I'm going to tie that into the last question here, and then we'll wrap up the show. And last chance, folks, get the words food bank into the YouTube chat. All you have to do is just type the words food bank, and you'll be entered into a raffle. We're going to raffle away some prizes in just a couple minutes before we roll on out of here. This last question is from Mike Day. For everybody, do you train with one poker training site or a mixture of multiple training sites? I'll just jump in first and say, like, one of the great things about Rec Poker is that our members get access to all these other fantastic training sites. So Solve for Why, Learn Pro Poker, Red Chip, Jacka Coaching. God, why do I do this live? I never pokercoaching.com, the MTT Poker Academy. There's a couple more. The Poker Forge, another fantastic one. And so you can actually come into the Rec Poker Premium membership for 1 month. Like, donate $1 to your local food bank, email us the receipt. We'll send you a free month of premium membership at Rec Poker. And then you can come and review some of this amazing training material from all these other training sites and find a coach that works with you. Find a coach that talks about poker in the way that you think about poker. Find people out there making this material. And I like this fun stuff in the YouTube chat. And that's one of the great things with what we do here is we really want you to like find your voice, find your people, you know, find your crew. That's what it's all about here at Rec Poker. So I'll let the group speak for themselves. For me, I have the best job in the world, so I just kind of get to sprinkle in my training material from all these other fantastic training sites. But Chris, Lorianne, Rob, John, do you guys have favorites, or is there one or the other that jump out at you?
Yeah, kind of the same here for me. I'm all over. Like I've watched.
I have a favorite, but we have not added them to the learning partners yet, so I will refrain from saying who it is until we get them in.
Let's get them locked in. Simplify Poker, another great one. Yeah, sorry.
I want to see them get added to the group because they've got a couple cool things. But I think again, it just comes down to what Chris said. Like, it's not a matter of how big the name is or how much money they're making on their Hendon mob. It's who communicates to you in a way that you understand. And that's different for everybody. And that's why we have so many learning partners at Rec Poker, because what resonates with Chris might not resonate with Lorianne or might not resonate with me and vice versa. So you really have to find the thing that hits for you. And you'll know when it hits for you because, you know, to that point too, the motivation's there. You start to get excited because you're getting things that you can tangibly digest and implement in your game, and you're actually using them at the table and having success. So, you know, if you're on a training site and you're watching an hour of it and you're ripping your hair out and you feel like you didn't understand half of what you watched, it's probably not a good fit for you. And that's where, like, the Learning Partners program, because they have samples, you can get a taste of all of that stuff before you ever spend a dime on any of it. So can't encourage that enough as a way to find a good fit for you.
If I may, I was going to say one of our former guests, Alex Fitzgerald, Sassinato, I brought a course of his several years ago. And I still, to this day, I'm going through it now, still get, as part of his daily newsletter, something from him every day, an email with hand histories or an example of something. Of course, there's always in there to buy something else. But like I said, this is from initially purchasing it a few years ago. And it was just cost me a couple $100. But like I said, and that's what I've been using ever since. And like I said, I've seen the other names in the chat. Like I said, I'm kind of all over the place. Like I said, I observe a lot of poker content. So
yeah,
maybe, I don't know, maybe too much. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
that's my problem.
It's a lot. It's a lot out of there. It's true. And I want to mention, if folks go to rec.poker/bookstore, you can actually pick up some of Alex Sassonato Fitzgerald's books, and we're building out our collection of courses there as well, which is another great way to get at that knowledge. Thanks, Lorianne. Good thinking there. All right. We've got one more question. This one is from Benny the Jet. And it's such a good question that we have added this to our opening the action sequence. Panelists, in the world, are there more doors or wheels? That's the question.
I put in chat. I'm definitely team wheels for sure on the
Team wheels.
Yeah.
Rob,
It's not
you're
even
team
close.
Wheels.
It's not even close.
Lorianne, more doors or wheels?
I would think more wheels, but I have no idea. Is there a wrong answer?
I mean, I'm
Yes,
trying to think
team doors is the wrong answer.
because like
Okay,
houses have doors but no
Okay.
wheels,
No
right? Like
wheels.
that's a lot. You think of all the houses in the world,
I
not a
mean,
single
but-
wheel, but a lot of doors.
Actually,
Cars have both.
I disagree with you.
I was gonna say.
Okay,
Houses have wheels in them.
If
like in the like in
If
the
it's a garage
door opener,
furniture,
Like all the this is why I always like, especially if we count gears, right? Like
Yeah, then it's not even close.
because a can opener.
Rocks.
A can opener has like 3 wheels in it, right?
are those counts as do those count as
Oh,
wheels?
wheels.
Interesting. Like
Then
does
the
something
back
have
of
to
the remote
roll?
control count as a door? Battery
Oh,
compartment.
this is getting dangerously close to hot dog sandwich proportions of conversations.
I
Well,
do?
that's all the time we have for the pod. Thanks, everybody. Shout out to Running Aces, our official sponsor of the Rec Poker Podcast. And thanks to all of our panelists here, Invisible
Rob.
Bruiser Jim Reed.
I've
You're
been reading the
getting good.
chat. Where did this
You're
come
getting
from?
good at
What is the
this.
whole doors and wheels thing? Apparently,
Doors. This is Benny the Jet. He's a fellow Canadian, an up and comer in the poker world, and he's getting more involved in rec poker. But
Right.
he's been putting really good questions in the YouTube chat.
Benny, I'm gonna tag you. I'm gonna tag you with a project, Benny. If you can come up with a series of questions for Jim to ask that is better than hot dog is a sandwich, I'll personally give you an hour of free coaching.
Whoa!
You get something that he will replace that, so we can eradicate it from the pod. You got an hour of free coaching, buddy. That's all I'm saying. There
Wow!
you go.
I don't know.
Challenge
I don't know what to root for now. That's a
and
lot.
when that
Benny's the right
officially
guy to ask for that.
When that officially happens, will we have an official moment of silence for the hot dog question?
That's it. That's an if. We're gonna hold that in if territory.
Jim's gonna be wearing an all black polo with
I
a
know.
yellow rec.
Oh,
Poker
yeah.
logo.
Oh God, it'd be in mourning. I love that question so much. John Somsey, we didn't hear from you. Wheels or doors? Where are you on this?
You know, I don't know. I'd probably go with wheels, but if you go back in time far enough, I mean, the opening to a cave is like a door.
Is that?
You know, I don't know.
I'm the contrarian here. I'm
I
going to
think
go.
the
team
question
doors.
is about like at the moment, right? Not like
Oh, that's true. I did say in the world, like it was a current
Yeah.
tense.
it's not like in
Present
the
tense.
dinosaur era there were probably more doors than wheels. If we just count
Yes.
cave openings and there were no wheels. So
Benny, I hope you're happy. This is all you. This is all Benny. All right. John Somsky, why don't you tell us about who won some recent home games, and then Rob, let's pick a winner in the wheel of fame and fortune.
it's on the door.
Oh, the wheel, another wheel. Oh boy, see who will walk through the door of opportunity into their free month of membership.
All right. We'll sit here watching the wheels go round and round, and Johnny Quattro got his first nightly victory for the year. East Coast bidder Ben Enslow got his third nightly victory for the year. Isma got his or her sixth nightly victory for the year. JS Edam, Jeff S, got his sixth nightly victory for the year. Bone Crusher 14, Marcel Dusick got his fifth nightly victory for the year. Then J Sedum, Jeff S. Okay, this is his sixth. The previous was his fifth. A really mad guy, won his first daily mixed victory for the year. MCF.Jeff Jack McFarland got his second international victory for the year. Killy 19341. Rich Deakins got his second nightly victory for the year. Poker Geek man John Somsky won the LPP event, and he can contact info at Rec.Poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker. And then Izanma won the daily Heads Up event and will be able to play in Marek Madness in 2026.
Amazing. Wow. I just can't believe that when I think about like the scope of what we've done, John, in the Home Game Club, like, yeah, we're talking about who's going to be in the 2026 Marek Madness. Just blows my mind. I'm so pleased to be a part of this.
Well, you know, the thing is there's no money on the line for these. It's all for pride. So if we don't take it like a big deal, then why do we even bother playing? That's why we keep the stats. That's why we announce it on the podcast, because it's a way to make this a real thing that you want to win, despite the fact that all you win are these really pretty pins here.
Yep. Well, like we said at the beginning, you know, competition's a beautiful thing. It drives us to get better. So I'm so pleased. All right, Rob Gardner, are we ready? Do you have a?
Yes, but I have to ask this really quick, Jim. I have to ask this. This is bugging me. Everybody knows what a Mandela effect is, right?
I do, but just in case, why don't you explain it to
our
audience?
So like it's this idea like things that we remember from our past no longer exist, and there's some conspiracy theories about, you know, like the Hadron Colliders creating these alternate universes, and we've jumped from an alternate universe to another alternate universe. For example, the monocle, right, on the Monopoly guy. Like some people remember him having a monocle on his eye, but now apparently he never had one. I have a poker
Bears.
The Berenstein Boys. I have a poker one, and I thought maybe it was just me, but then I was having a conversation with one of our Wrecking Crew members, Jason Carafiello, Jay Venom, today, and he had the exact same thought. Does anybody remember Umberto Brenes passing away like several years ago?
What?
Umberto Brenes, the guy with the shark.
He's still alive, right?
I know he's still alive. I remember him passing away like 7 or 8 years ago.
No.
And like, yes, I remember this. And Jay remembers the exact same. We both remember the guy with the shark not being alive anymore, and he's still alive. And we can't figure it out for the life of us. So I don't know.
Was that kind of like a Betty White thing where she actually supposedly passed away before she actually passed away? I don't
know if anybody else in chat remembers this or not. But like, we both have really strong memories of this. Like, we were stunned to see him on Twitter the other day. Like, what the hell? So I don't know. Maybe it's just us. Like, nobody remembers that, huh?
Brains work in mysterious ways. Let us know in the YouTube chat before we get out of here. Yeah, like apparently it's the Berenstain Bears this whole time, but I could have sworn it was the Berenstain Bears. All right.
I was thinking for sure people were going to be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." Me and Jay got into the wrong batch of shrooms one day.
That's worse than cheeseburger. Benny the Jet. All right. I love to see it when those that get involved and get active get rewarded by the poker gods. Benny the Jet, congratulations, partner.
I was going to say something. I don't know if that would be copyright infringement. Never mind.
Oh, I think you should. Now that you're
good. No, I was going to say, the thing he needs to, we can play a theme song. You know which song?
Yes,
comes to mind. But you know.
I think that's okay. That's fair use. We can get away with that.
I think we definitely fair use there.
Benny, send your email please to info@rec.poker, and Rob Gardner, who's our Rec Poker Santa Claus, because I know, Benny, you're already a Rec Poker Premium member. Thank you for your support. That unlocks a whole new tier of fantastic prizes available to you for winning the
Jim, is it the pepper in my beard now that it's turning gray? You've turned me into Santa Claus instead of Rob Washam.
Oh, is that what I said? Did I say Rob Gardner? Oh my God. Yes, this show has obviously been going on too long, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the fun that we've had here together. I really loved being able to share some of the stories of our panelists here and our Wrecking Crew members with you. Thanks to Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. Thanks to all our premium members, our Wrecking Crew members, our YouTube chatters. And all the rest of you at home, thanks so much. We'll see you next week on the Rec Poker Podcast.
Hey, peace out.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, this. Oh.